Greetings, 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 everyone. So much love. This one is going to be a good one. I can tell. Uh, what an amazing day. I'm so honored to be here with the homies. Um, Shout out, man, I don't even know what to say. Put the kids to bed. Shout out to all the puppies and kittens out there. Massive love. We have Tommy Rogers in the building, man. Tommy is a real one. He knows all the stuff. All the stuff. Sophomander. I love that name. Shout out Sophomander. He's the Sophomander of Sophomanders. Baylor Bay. Safa Bay. Baylor of Bays. Shout out to my homie, Mr. Mystic. Let's go. We were just having a high-minded discussion on how do we take over this realm. And then I remembered, shoot, I have to go live in a moment. It's incredible. So let me introduce the amazing people on here with us, the family. The family keeps growing, and it's an honor. Armin Ree, how are you, man?
All good here. Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, that accent isn't that inappropriate because Armun Ree is supposed to be Scots Gaelic. So
I know he's trying to be me. He's trying to be me.
Armin.
yeah,
Silas,
beam me up,
Can
Scotty.
you say Armin?
Armun Rye.
Armin.
You got to roll.
Right.
You got to roll the R. You know.
Right.
Armun. You know.
Armin.
Sorry,
Oh,
that sounded a bit Arabic. But
You sounded like Scotty from Star Trek.
exactly.
We need more power. Oh man, I need some water because my mouth is dry. I can't roll my R's when my mouth is dry.
That's the problem with the Scottish accent. You know, it just it dehydrates you.
Dehydrates you. That's why you drink so much whiskey. Yeah.
Exactly. It's Ushkaveh, mate. It's the water of life.
Well, what's
And
funny
Ribena.
side story, all the single malt whiskey barrels, the wood comes from the oak, comes from used bourbon oak barrels from Tennessee and Kentucky, because used guys evidently used all your oak. And so when you have like an 8-year or 16-year or 32-year single malt whiskey, all that those barrels come from Kentucky and Tennessee from bourbon. Bourbon only needs like a year or two.
Yes, you're totally right. Yeah, supposedly a lot of the forests and that up in the Highlands were deforested during the Viking Age. This is the story, and it was due to, of course, the Vikings were great seafarers, thus they needed the wood for their longboats and stuff. Yeah, or I mean, people just deforested it simply for profit, you know, in the more modern age. But who knows?
Well, they say so here especially in Appalachia, here on the East Coast of America, they came through and slashed like the old trees, all that, I'm sure you guys have gone down rabbit holes of these, like the old world trees of, now they're like mountains and stuff. But a lot of the trees now that are even 200-year-old oaks are considered new growth trees. Evidently, that's what I've heard the internet tell me.
So it was all used for whiskey barrels.
People like to party, Armin.
Gigantic whiskey barrel.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, Armin, I haven't. So, okay, Armin, you must have been watching TRE Trey low key for a long time, because a lot of your ideas are exactly in line with what Chris and I have been defaulting into discussing for months.
Well,
Um,
no, actually, no. I caught, I don't know, maybe 2 lives. Um, the latest one was the one before this one. Um, and no, what happened was entirely, just one of those synchronicities, perhaps. But no, it's not a matter of trying to copy or trying to get the subjects in line, but simply, when things coordinate at a level, a more essential level, I think they just come together. Sort of magnetic, if you like.
Absolutely, man. I realized, and of course, again, the family's growing, birds of the same feather flock together. I heard you talking on Silas with Silas, and then I checked out your channel, and I was like, dude, we're talking about this. We came to the similar conclusions independently.
Well,
Like,
it must be true then.
yeah, man. Like, and you've left some amazing comments. I was like, yo, I agree with everything you're saying. I agree with. And then everything Silas is saying, I agree with him. And it's just like, yo, man. Stellium 7. Yeah, bro. Titans is trust me. By the way, shout out Kelly Boyles. I'm into Stellium. I'm into Titans. I'm into Heartstones. I'm into I'm into a lot of these mountains being trees. I'm into a lot of the mountains also being titans of old world titans, believe it or not. I'm also into griffins. Shout out Queen Califia. Now, now for Armunn, and I have your info lined up. Like, in my opinion, okay, and I don't get on the normies because they're just gone, but I get on a lot of these. I have problems with a lot of these esoteric areas, people, gurus, etc., where I see, despite the appearance, I feel there's just you trade one dogma for another dogma.
I agree.
Right. And I go, what if you guys are discussing things that are also based on given paradigms by those that wish to control you, alternative paradigms that you're invested in mentally in your mental mansion, beliefs, which, by the way, I love the word beliefs, believe it or not. Be the leaf. Shout out Bach Saga for that one, but in the family tree. But I boil it all down, Armunn. If I have any, I adjust, I pivot, new data comes, I evaluate it, I put it through my personal filter, and I go, BS. This is BS.
Right.
And then what's left? What's it? So, and I talk to Chris all the time, Armunn, and I'll be quiet. I go, and I meditate, I sit and contemplate. I go, and thoughts come to my head. I go, what thoughts and beliefs and opinions and ideas are my own, and what have been given to me externally?
Right. I would agree with that stance. In fact, most of the things, even
I love
things
this.
that,
Dude, I'm sorry. I just love this comment. I'm like, dude, I self-proclaim I am the pivot prophet. Like, for me, I'm a pivot prophet. You know what I mean? I love that. That's why I love the chat. Anyway, Armunn, I'll be quiet and I will not interrupt. I tell you that right now.
No, it's all right. So even the things, for example, that you were discussing in the previous live, a lot of interesting stuff there, for sure. However, one must be aware of something, which was something that as I was listening, was becoming evident. And of course, it's part of the way I approach things. Is that when you get to the past, it is a good exercise to speculate. But there are things that we can't know for certain. And the issue there is that, the past has unhealthily, I would say, an overwhelming effect on our present. And I say unhealthily because often we, and when I say we, it's not just we here, but, we as humanity focus more on the past that we think we know, or on the past even that we can speculate about, to construct the present and therefore prolong that past onto the future. Because, of course, if you consider that the past was something, it doesn't matter, one aspect of it, right? And that past influences, of course, your present, even if it is from a reactive stance, like, oh, I don't want this past to repeat again, therefore, I go about my life in this way. So it is in a way reactive to that past. What happens is that past, as you're living it in the present by influence, will prolong into the future, right? It's the same thing as, if, let's imagine you have a trauma. Could be a simple thing like, you one day you were going down the stairs, you tripped and you fell, right? If next time you go down the stairs, you're considering, oh, I tripped on that step. I tripped on that step. Of course, eventually you will trip again, right? Because you're basically, in your perception, you are placing into that step and to those stairs a specific threat value. Now, this doesn't mean that you don't learn from the fall that you had. Like, yeah, maybe I was careless going down the stairs. But that doesn't mean that you can't master going down the stairs, and that it doesn't need to become a present for you, so that moment doesn't prolong into the present and therefore define the future. You understand?
Yeah, well, Armin, and
Mm.
just to add, let me ask you, and
Mhm.
please continue. What if my parents fell
Mhm.
down fell down the stairs
Correct. Yes. Yes,
and I
exactly. And
didn't?
they passed on to you. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. Yes, of
continue.
course. Of course. And so it is exactly down that line that I'm referring. So what should be, in my opinion, the approach would be, okay, uh, there was a past that I myself lived, or that, okay, it was passed on to me, and I can obtain some wisdom from it, in the sense, learn a particular lesson from it, whatever you want to call it, right? And then move on. Because the issue of um, focusing on the past is that it always tends to prolong itself. It's a sort of foundational framework that encapsulates what the future will be. Like, it narrows down the possibilities. Do you follow me there? It's like, if the past was this, okay, another example that might be easier to describe. Imagine that you had a bad relationship, right? Doesn't mean that every woman you meet you're going to automatically reject, because it might be the same disaster that you had before, right? So if you define what you encounter in the present by the past, that past will be the future. You
Well,
understand?
Armin, I
Mm.
will add that, just
Mm.
using the relationship analogy,
Right.
if I meet a similar situation with I'm a man, let's say I meet a
Hmm.
similar situation with a woman, she does the same thing,
Hmm.
but I'm different.
Right. Right. But that's wisdom, right? The wisdom is, okay, I see the signals that I didn't see before. And so I avoid this part and go down a different road. That is one thing. Another is that automatically, because it creates a sort of foundational framework, like I said, automatically every woman you meet, you don't even see signs or look for, or, you don't even do that. You automatically avoid any relationship, potential relationship, at all, because the past was this, right? Or you just go on a cycle of relationship after relationship that is a cycle of the same thing over and over, right? The two sides can occur, but nonetheless they are defined by that particular point in the past, right? And so the idea is, yes, the past is to obtain wisdom from it, however, not to define the present first, and then of course from the present not to define the future as well. So one of the things that we always see, for example, mainstream history, right? And you were talking history in the last show. Mainstream history, what do we see? We see wars, conflict, betrayal, this kind of thing, right? And then usually when we analyze, we see, oh, this, we look at history and we say, well, this is wrong, this is incorrect, this history is wrong. And the alternative we come is within the same framework. We also see wars, we also see conflict, we also see betrayal. You understand what I'm trying to say? The framework is the same. It's an alternative, but actually the same, right? So I think that there has been, for a long time, in both, and this is not to say that it was on purpose per se, okay? But there has been on both mainstream and what is called alternative, a great movement towards misanthropy, which means towards, depicting man as this being that, if it's not regulated, will always cause, like I said, wars, betrayal, etc., etc., right? And that is the one key point of that past, let's say, that past foundation that was passed from generation to generation, just like you were saying previously, that defines our future, and that defines, of course, our present first and foremost. So when people are asked for an alternative, you will notice that the alternative always includes the same points as the mainstream that was rejected. You understand?
Yes.
In a way, it's similar to what you see in George Orwell's 1984 with the axiom, who controls the past controls the future, who
Right.
controls the present controls the past. But it's interesting because I've been looking at sort of juxtaposing Edward Bernays and his usage of PR or early PR for mass population control, and it almost ties in exactly with the Hermetic principles, like every single one, if you were to apply them in that aspect, right? So even the idea that you see in, for example, the Hermetic principles of all is mind, and the idea of mentalism and the universe being a mental construct, like what you're saying, Armunn, if you narrow the possibilities, if you, pardon me, narrow the umbra that we can cast, that we can travel, that we can direct our presence through, then ultimately what you're doing is you're effectively creating a hyperstition, a self-fulfilling prophecy for that civilization going forward.
Get them.
And so, and so basically, you're it's like what Plato stated regarding noble lie or pious fiction. You're creating this illusion of an objective reality that isn't really there. It's all born of the mind that was seeded by that founding myth or that pious fiction or noble lie.
I agree, and listen, the that narrowing down of possibilities that that you mentioned, which I agree, is symbolized in the game of chess, right? The game of chess is, you have a board with a set number of squares, with a set movement for each piece type, and with certain rules, right? So you can say when the game starts, you can say, well, it's a lot of possibilities. The game could go this way or could go that way, but that is an illusion. The game is a closed system, and it will always end up in
Well,
one result: checkmate, or or resignation. But it will always end up with a winner, a loser, or a draw, right?
I'll also add to
Mhm.
that analogy, Armun,
Yeah.
is that a certain class, quote unquote class, when they play chess, they use a paw to move the pieces.
Hmm.
So that enclosed system that you're mentioning is actually, there are others outside of that enclosed system that move the pieces in that
Correct.
way.
Hmm.
Just FYI, yeah.
No,
Can I
correct,
introduce
correct. Yeah,
my
yeah.
homie, because he's itching, and he's
Go ahead.
let me my and then let's please continue. Mr. Mystic, man, amazing. He's a brethren, and he's going on a big purge tomorrow. So, and he's feeling us and wants to share, bro. Mr. Mystic, how are you, my friend? What do you have to say? And so much gratitude for coming through, my friend. What's up?
What's going on, brother? What's going on? Yeah, definitely glad to be here. Much gratitude to you for bringing me on. But yeah, no, I'm definitely feeling the conversation, because I don't think this is talked about enough on some of the deepest levels, right? So, what is like okay, and sorry if I get the names mixed up, but I believe Armunn was talking about perception. Um, you know, the reality is yeah, like he said, he was talking about illusion. Everything is an illusion. Everything is literally an illusion, right? And guess what? Everybody is living their own individual illusion, and that's the beautiful part of it all. So, because okay, we'll go to the relationship thing,
Well,
right?
Mr. Mystic, what illusion are you living in? What illusion are you living in right now?
Well, to be honest, I am in the process, early processes of creating a brand new illusion. So, yeah, no, I love this talk because perception is everything, along with awareness, right? And it's funny because you could, I'll just use you guys for an example. We could all look at the same car, right? Like same exact car, same color, same everything. But we all will have a different perception of that single car, right? And none of it's right or wrong, right? Like truly, none of it's really truly right or wrong. And that's actually the beautiful part of it, because Ronin could be like, this is a great car. Arma could be like, this thing needs some work, And then, everybody just has a different perception. But the reality is what illusion do you want to live? Do you want to be in the lower mind, or do you want to be in the higher mind? And it's up to you. It's up to everybody to make that choice. And it's really important because this is actually what dictates if we're going to have a quote unquote good life or quote unquote bad life, right? But because even at the end of the day, that's all a perception too. Because what might be good for you might be bad for me, right? So
yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say, I think we've gotten beyond the it's a paradise or a prison. But continue, Mr. Mystic. Yeah. No.
yeah. No, absolutely, 100%. And that's the beautiful part of it all, because we are creative beings, right? So since we're creative beings, like, you see all these people out here that are massively depressed, massively, stuck in that lower mind, right? But if they could just purge all these things and purge the lower perception and come into the right thought system and see with a new, fresh set of eyes and have a new vision and create, then I do believe that people would see things much differently.
Can, can I ask Armunn a question related to that?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I want to ask everyone. I want to ask Armunn, and then Silas, and then Mr. Mystic. Armunn, I know we're here. Armunn, I'm trying to, dude. Let me put the horrible accent attempts away. Despite all this, we're all high-minded and vibe and good vibes, and we're above all this material, blah blah blah. If you had a windfall of 10 million in your cash dollars, that would probably make how would that affect your experience here in this realm? Take it wherever you want.
Well, for me in particular, I have as much as possible, because of course we are immersed in a notion that we didn't make individually, right? So we are immersed, whether we like it or not, in a collective game. Let's put it like that: a collective, like Mystic was saying, illusion. But I have detached gradually, as much as possible, from the economic game. Seeing that the economic game, and when I say the economic game, is not money per se, is the game of owning a certain number, right? There's this, it's like when you play a video game and you have the high score, right? And so if you give no importance to that number per se, it stops dictating, as much as it did at least, your decisions, right? So your priorities move from that score on the screen, let's call it that, to a different level. Let's say, you start paying more attention to your individual vocation, for example, right? And so the decisions move towards that. And what is interesting is, when you do that, you don't even have to worry that much about that part of the collective illusion, because things just sort themselves out, right? There is, if it's true, and it is, if it's true and it is, that there is conspiracy towards, harnessing you in the illusion, let's say, there is also a conspiracy, necessarily, because things are not just one side, to release you from that illusion. And of course, it's that dichotomy of whether do you want to externalize, in the sense of, you becoming more collectivized, or do you want to individualize, right? And if the more you individualize, the more the collective reacts to you, in, let's call it, take it just as a placeholder word, but as a positive feedback. You understand? But don't take positive here as meaning something concrete, because like Mystic was saying, positive for one may be one thing, positive for another may be a different thing, right? But there is a feedback that matches, let's say, that is compatible with your actual essential individuality, let's say. So that would be my reply. What would I do? I can't answer, because that is an exercise that really doesn't. I mean, when it comes, if it comes, I will think about it, how I would use it. But whenever that happened, not with 1 million, like you were saying, but or 10 million. What was the number anyway? But whenever I get a good return, or whatever the word you used, I tend to not worry and make the decisions that are based on my essential individuality, and therefore, things just fall into place, or have been falling into place. And this doesn't mean that there wasn't trial and error. Of course there was, because things, we are almost, from the moment we are born, inserted into a collectivized illusionary system. And of course it takes some time to realize a few things. But that's the best answer I can give you. Not a concrete set of actions that I would do, but an approach.
I'm right there with you. I see, especially since you have a bank account nowadays, and this is how it is now. I see it as a video game score. Simple as that.
Yeah,
literally a video game score. The numbers are literally a video game score, and I'm like, why not try and get a video? Why not try and get high score? Excuse me. Why not try to get high score? I don't put any value in any of this material things. But why not try and get high score? Have the walls a little farther apart than what they are. Would be nice. Why not use the code for utility? But it doesn't. I don't put value in it like that.
No, sure. The issue with normally the issue that comes with the approach of trying to get the high score, like you said, is that then one becomes trapped by our own steps towards it, right? And I'll give you an example. Imagine that. Okay, your channel now starts getting a lot of views and all of that, and you start considering, maybe I do, paid subscriptions or something like that.
Oh, let's
right?
go. Trey is such a big deal. I'm sorry, Armunn. Trey is such a big deal. We're getting oh my gosh, we're so important. I'm so important, Armunn. Don't you know that? Don't you see my status? Anyway.
And so what happens after a while is that you begin to get trapped by the very means that you, the very steps that you took towards obtaining that. For example, you start, if you analyze yourself, you might start noticing that perhaps you talk in a different way to appease those who pay. Perhaps the subjects that you bring up will be subjects that are more, appeasing or more pleasant to those who pay. These are mere examples, right? But so what happens there is that you've collectivized. So what you would, that authentic message that you would do when you didn't have the paid subscriber system, whatever it is, I use this just as an example, is gradually lost in the process, right? Because then the number and the concern for that, those subscribers becomes more prioritized over the essential message that you want to do with your videos, whatever that might be. And of course, again, I'm just using this as an example, not.
Well, this combined. Yes. Now this is a crossroad, and I'll be quiet. But this is a crossroads in. Again, I'm not talking to normies. I'm talking to the esoteric groups, and there's a lot of grifters out there that will, you're doing your. Let's do a deep dive. Let's talk about sacred geometry. Oh, let's talk about the macabre. Oh, let's talk about this such woo mysticism, and I'm like, I boiled that down, and I found it to be just some mid 1800s Blavatsky type. You know, the source comes from goofiness, so it's very strange where it's like we can sit here and talk about certain mystical these things and get like people to get their fix, almost their woo woo porn in a way,
Right.
or you know, dopamine hit. But what if all that and they, you know, that could be money, I don't know, numbers, that whatever the hits, and but what if, see, when I boil it down, I go, what if it's all that is BS?
Mm-hmm.
What if it's what if all that is a inversion hijackery of some other stuff? Sounds great, makes you feel cool, makes you feel like I'm a sorcerer. Oh my gosh. Oh, Dustin left. I question that stuff too, man. You know, I question all that stuff because I boiled it down. I need to know the source.
Yeah. Yeah, that goes towards something that me and Silas have been talking about recently, which is, you know, the difference between something that is lived, let's say, and if something is lived, you can't explain. You can't. I mean, how explain to me how you love you know, the people or the beings that you love. You can't explain. I mean, you can use all the words and, you know, whatever, write a poem for to try to explain. You can't, right? It's lived. And the concept, right? And I equate most of the systems that you were describing in the same way that, for example, mathematics is used in a lot of ways for science, right? And let me try to explain what I mean. Is that there is a healthy place for mathematics, right? If you are able to use mathematics, you can build things and, you know, organize and, you know, that kind of thing. But when that becomes an absolute, it replaces the actual thing, be it an experience, be it whatever, right? And so you try to measure the absolute using a concept that is by nature, by the very you know, fabric of it, limited, right? So of course
Well,
that
Armunn, real quick, Mr. Mystic and I can take mathematics and numbers and present to you perceived data that will back up our thesis. We know how to do that if we wanted to, and many do. If we literally, we can use mathematics to prove a thing that we wish to prove that will seemingly be legitimate, but
sure, but
not, you know.
Yeah, but that will always be a representation, and that representation is not the actual thing. And the issue with, for example, like you were saying, you know, the mystic systems or this or that, is that they are representations, and they could be useful in the sense of, you know, you use them as metaphors. In fact, you know, in my book, I use the metaphor of the Christian gospel to present as an example of how that is used. Is that okay? You can write a story, for example, to explain to someone else a concept or a series of concepts that otherwise you couldn't explain, right? You couldn't lay it out in a different way, so you use parable, metaphor, whatever, which is basically what mathematics is. It's a metaphor for whatever it's trying to represent. The thing is, when the metaphor becomes literal, right? When you look at a number and that number replaces the actual reality, right? And or a symbol, right? Since you were talking about the mystic systems and so on, and when that happens, everything is lost because it empties out completely the original message and the original purpose of whatever was trying to be conveyed. Because you can explain the same thing using completely different metaphors, right? So it's not like my metaphor is better than yours, right?
Well,
But
I just want to add to that before I misunderstood is that I do find shapes do have a frequency. So like the numbers of, like, you have numbers, the shapes, and they match cosmology. Just know out there, I'm not saying when I see shapes, they do have a frequency. So I'm not saying none of the woo. I'm just saying there's a perversion, and then others may propagate that perversion of actual real things. I just want to clarify where I'm coming from, Armunn, on that aspect.
Could I add something, Armunn?
Sure.
There was a really interesting quote from a neuroscientist that I came across recently. Her name is Anil Seth, and she stated that human perception was a controlled hallucination. And she also then stated that when all of our hallucinations agree with each other, that is when we call that objective reality. So it's like what you're saying. It's when these abstractions, which are fundamentally representations or images, they are projections of what we want to be true. When these things become almost religious or dogmatic in scope or number or what have you, and when they stop becoming tools of trying to understand the chaotic shapes or the chaotic flow of the world, and when they become our masters and sort of reign over us as Lord above, or as our gods, or as our, whatever it may be. And as we've been talking about, the demon god of AI, right? This is the new one that they're coming out with. Then that controlled hallucination becomes a controlling hallucination. And so fundamentally, I think people have to understand that our perception itself isn't reality. Yeah. It's, our mind has never it's never seen light. It's never, touched the solid ground. It's never felt any of these things. What it has felt, or what it has experienced, are electrical inputs that are, of course, provided by our sensory apparatus, which are then filtered by the mind. And of course, even our thought, which is an internal spark, that itself is filtered by the mind. So everything we're seeing is through a lens, it's through an aperture. So when we come to understand that, we can take a better stock of our reality, I think, and we have better control and management of it.
Yes, I agree. I agree 100%. Sorry, I just wanted to get that out because there's a lot we covered that and that's why perception is, you're always going to find a different perception in everybody, right? Everybody's always going to have a different perception because it's individualized. And again, that the most powerful thing that we do have, because perception isn't true knowing. It's not, it's not always true, right? Because it varies from person to person. So, yeah, and that's exactly the reality is what do you want to live? What is the illusion that you want to live? What are you here after for? Like, and back about the whole money thing, Ronin, I totally get you, bro. I totally get you, brother. Like 100%. Like, but guess what? Just like remember what the conversation we had back in November about breaking the mental barrier of what we had to do? It's the same concept, right? It's breaking more mental barriers.
It was so freeing too.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just it. We broke through the mental barrier. Now, what would be holding everybody else back in that moment, Ronin?
Bro,
what type of mindset would they have to be in? They would be living from a scarcity mindset.
Yes.
So them living from a scarcity mindset is only going to attract more scarcity, right? But when you break those mental barriers, right, and you get through them and you create something new that is not of scarcity, all will always be provided for no matter what.
Yes,
So
the past defines the present, and the present therefore defines the future because it's a continuation of that belief. Let's say, yeah.
Let
I
me
agree.
just introduce. Hold on. Let me Armin. Let me just take care of some beeswax real quick. First of all, shout out PK. What's the topic? Good question. We're basically just boiling down all reality. Now, that's the topic. Everything. The topic's everything and nothing. Boiling it all down, man. You know, getting through any and all BS. And Chris is here. Shout out narcissism. What's narcissism? I hear a lot of people throwing out narcissism to others, and it's like, you ever look in the we're dusting. You ever look in the mirror and go, who's the real narcissist? You know what I'm saying? By the way, every single thing that I say to the mirror, and I know that I am also a part of the problem when it comes to anything and everything.
Well, that actually ties in with something, Ronan. Sorry to interject, but the myth of Narcissus. I don't know if Armun would want to discuss that idea, the myth of Narcissus, and how that sort of ties in with what we're talking about. This idea of the reflections and the mirrors and all of that. Sorry to interject, Ronan. That just brought to the mind. Yeah,
Can I
sorry.
introduce Chris real quick? Chris Minor, and then Silas, take it away. Chris Minor, he's on CPT. He's on CP time, California people time.
No, my bad. My hot water heater broke, and water was going everywhere.
What?
So I had to throw some towels down and get that dried up before I came on because I couldn't leave it sitting. That would have been a disaster.
That's a likely excuse, but I'll take it.
I was already.
Did I use that one already?
No, you're good.
No, I'm serious. No, I'm serious. So.
I was already imagining he was being chased by a Catholic priest because he's minor.
Right. Luckily, none of them out here in Pennsylvania or California. I said Pennsylvania, almost
just
California.
Hollywood directors, you know.
Yeah,
Basically
just
the same thing.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Gotta
yes.
find those
They're the
tunnels.
priests. Yeah.
Good to see you, Armin. Good to see you, Silas. Good to see you, Dustin.
Likewise.
good to
Shout
see
out
you,
Trey.
Trey.
And big love, Ronan.
Yeah, man, the family's growing. So and Chris is awesome. You know, the Ronin experience, that's what's up. So Silas, what were you saying? And Mr. Mystic in the back said he's loving this, and PK's loving this, and I'm loving this too. So Silas, you were saying?
Well, regarding we brought up narcissism, so or in fact, sorry, it was Mars Bar that brought up narcissism, but the myth of Narcissus. So I don't know if Armin wants to go into this because this basically ties in with, we've been discussing this on our iPet Go 2 series, but and it's cropped up, of course, in our discussions previously because it's such an important myth, I think. But it's the idea that Narcissus basically fell in love with his own reflection. And thus, if you look at it through the Gnostic framework, he fell into matter, right? He fell into the solid, sort of frozen, barren illusion, right? Again, he didn't just use perception or the controlled hallucination to make sense of reality. He used it almost as an expectation of reality, and eventually that, or an expectation of himself in this sense, and eventually it took over his mind and it became master over it. And of course, this ties in with what Armin's mentioning, because everything you're seeing in reality and the culture, not really reality, but the culture and the perceived reality, is it's similar to the Narcissus myth. It's a reflection of a reflection of a reflection of a reflection, of course. You see that with, of course, in the Hollywood sphere currently, everything's a remake of a remake of a remake, or a live action remake, or what have you. And moreover as well, it could be metaphorically, sort of described as a hall of mirrors, right? That's what our culture is. It's all, everything's designed to entrap you. I don't know if you want to speak to that, Armun, that idea.
Well, when someone looks at a reflection in the mirror, they're not seeing themselves; they're seeing an image, right? And so that image not being the whole of the being that one is, and of course you can only see what is being reflected, and if the mirror is a bit dusty or something, you'll see even less than what it could reflect. But whatever, even if it's the best, most polished mirror, it will never see you. You will see a partial aspect and from a certain angle of that of that gives you a perception, a limited perception of who you are. And the problem with that is that if there is an identification with that reflection, it will always be an identification that has attached to it rejection. And the rejection is with the rest that is not seen or that you don't want to see in the image. And so what happens, for example, you were talking Narcissus, is that there is an idea that when Narcissus looks, and actually the myth of Narcissus is linked with Echo, but I'll explain that further on. When Narcissus looks, Narcissus sees beauty, right? He sees his reflection as beautiful. And what he attaches to is that beauty. But the entirety of his being, the entirety of any being, isn't just what one would consider the beautiful parts. There is a whole set of aspects that we have. Some of them you might call ugly, right? But they are still a part of you. And of course, by calling ugly or calling beautiful, you're already doing a certain rejection in that sense. But I'm using words here to try to explain. And so when the identification occurs with that reflection, leaves out certain aspects of you. And those aspects of you cannot be detached. There is a certain schizophrenia that I think is actually in the origin of this whole situation, let's say humanity's situation, that occurs where, something that is you cannot stop being you, but you can pretend by perception and by, self-convincement, if you like, you can pretend that it isn't you. And so what happens is that powers up, it builds up. It's like a spring that you pull back, or, like a balloon that you inflate and gains power, but you still refuse to see it as you, right? And what happens is, of course, like Mystic was saying, we project this onto the world, right? We project the, let's say, partial vision or partial perception onto the world. But the other parts that we are ignoring are still there, and they are still being projected, right? And they will be reflected back. And when they're reflected back, it's not to hurt us, it's to tell us, hey, buddy, you forgot about me, right? You say that you are this, but you forgot that you are also me that is being reflected back at you, right? And so in this process, the idea is that, that self-image that, like I said, was partial to begin with, integrates the notion that there is more to it than what was previously perceived, right? And therefore, it puts those aspects in its healthy place, because everything has a healthy place. The problem is that when they are not in their healthy place, they tend to, with increased, let's say, power up, become grotesque. it can come to a point of becoming grotesque, right? But that grotesqueness, let's say, is a result of a continuous rejection of something that can't stop, can't be separated from you, but you see it as separate. So that would be, the way I would describe it.
And that's where the whole, we're everything and nothing all at the same time.
Right.
Oh, Armunn, you talked before about, and by the way, yes, Machete, Mr. Mystic's channel's YouTube has been in the description, and Armunn's is in the description as well, and so is Silas's, and so is Chris's. So yes, Armunn, you talked about something that I really liked, where it's kind of along the same concept we've been talking. A lot of these rabbit holes are time wasters.
Mhm.
Wait, is this? Yeah, let's keep. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Forgive me. And who's feeling something on their heart to talk about this? Aren't you guys are crushing, man? Shout out to the chat.
Ronin, you nailed it right on the head, though. That's the whole point of all of this. Is what
I
we're
totally
talking
meant to.
about now.
I totally.
What we're
meant
talking
to.
about. Oh, sorry, my bad. But yeah, no, we're like everything we're talking about right now is essentially a time saver, right? It's a way to save time. Now,
Yeah.
if we go deeper into it, obviously, really, time and space, that's all an illusion in itself, too, right? But yes, in my opinion, everything that we're talking about is actually short. Everything else of the rabbit holes and all this stuff, yeah, sure, it's great, right? And it serves a purpose in what we call the awakening process, in my opinion. But what we're actually talking about now is actually true knowledge, right? Um, it's also a time saver. So sorry, I just wanted to say.
Get them. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Mr. Mystic, that you agreed with me that I agreed with Armunn. Totally.
Let's hold hands and dance around the
Oh,
bonfire.
we're just all too awesome, man. We're just too awesome, dude. And there's a lot of value here. I feel like the just internet's exploding. Yeah.
No, but I think
Time Saver is a good one on that front.
about the
Because
the
Armunn, you don't want to be like strongly invested in a falsehood of some kind, and if it's revealed to you, I imagine. I'll speak for myself. Please reveal any, like, if it's garbage, I'm like, let me know. Let me look at it. Let me identify it. Let me boil it down. And if it's built on a nothing, then I go, cool, see you later. I want to know like ASAP. And I go, see you later, because I don't want to waste my time on some gibberish. Although, being somewhat aware of gibberish down the forest, is fine. But yeah.
all of us have wasted a lot of time, inevitably. So it's not even, something that none of us can claim otherwise. Most of this goes a bit. Let me try to go a bit deeper onto that subject. From my perspective, is that most of the rabbit holes you were talking about, they are perceived virtual realities. Let me give you a metaphor. If you are in the presence of someone who is delusional and you try to tell them, listen, you're delusional, that thing that you're talking about it's not here, right? They will not listen. They will be defensive. They will even fight you if needed, right? So one thing that usually is the only way out is to step in to their delusion, right? And so, for example, imagine someone says that, or someone believes deeply that everyone that appears in front of them is an alien. Okay. If you tell them, no, I'm human. Yeah, that's what you think. You are an alien, right? And you can do nothing with it. You can't have a conversation. You can't explain anything. The connection is over, right? There's a repulsion because of that, let's say, self-entrapment onto that belief system. So your only way is to say, yeah, I'm an alien. And I came here with a mission for you. I was sent to you specifically with a mission, right? Now,
Well, Armin, that's why I had to get new sunglasses, because I was seeing aliens everywhere with those glasses on.
no, I'm using this just as a metaphor, but
No, I know I'm being silly. Kind of.
What I'm trying to describe here is exactly what I think. You know, those people that write the scripts and etc. That's exactly, I think, how they started this whole process. And so that is part of why I say that it's us, the audience of these scripts. And of course, we here, at least, you know, as far as I can tell, we here are not the audience per se, or we are trying not to be the audience. But there's a lot of segments of humanity, a lot of individuals, countless, that are the audience. And they are the audience dictating what the scripts should be. Right?
Yeah, and
Because,
I mean, to Machete real fast, I mean, I think of a lot of imposter syndrome. I always got to check myself. Do I have an imposter syndrome? But, you know, I always got to look in the mirror, this mirror talk, and I go, I know someone with imposter syndrome. Like, okay, cool. But then you look in the mirror. Who are you, bro? you know, anyway, go ahead, Armin. Shout out to Age of Warriors. I'm sure this being powerful being has some of the best comments out there. But go ahead, Armin.
Yeah. So the what I was trying to say is that it's quite possible. I'm not affirming, but it is quite possible that in the beginning of, you know, the script writing process within the world stage, let's call it that, there was an attempt to convey something of value. But that something was entirely rejected due to an identification with perceived virtual realities. And when I say virtual realities, is I imagine reality to be this in exclusion of anything else. And so since my reality is this, which is like in the example I was giving, everyone that appears in front of me is an alien, the only way that someone can deal with you is if they step into your reality and try to pull you out. Good luck, right? So, yeah.
It's funny. I oddly commented about something similar to this whole conversation on Thomas Sheridan's video that he made today, because it's really like people are stuck in these shared disassociated fantasies with it's like a narcissist codependent type of relationship in the macro, and then you find this in like with the political party and its pundits and on each side. So the codependents and the narcissistic politicians, or it could be at varying degrees, they create a shared fantasy, and when you try to tell them that their fantasy is a delusion, they attack you. There's really nothing you could do.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And that's why I say that it's the audience that is writing the script, and they are paying these writers to write it for them, right? It's like, you know, any of you guys ever played Dungeons and Dragons, right?
All the time, bro.
Right. There's a game master, right? And the game master is the one that is supposed to write the story that your characters, the characters you chose and rolled and built and whatever, and defined backstories for and whatever, are going to
And
go
Armunn,
through.
what's your character? But no, go ahead. Well, who's our character?
And so what happens is that those that play the game look to the game master to come up with an interesting story, right? And with interesting monsters and, you know, side quests and this and that, right? So they are the ones that, through their, you know, the desire that they have for a good game, make the game master write these stories for them. And of course, they are enticing and they seem dangerous, and there's things at stake. It's all BS, but it's all BS coming from the audience, projected from the audience, and then reflected back at them. Oh, we're playing the game we want, and this is true, right? People are you know, in the stuck in the paradigms that Chris Miner just mentioned. But this is the game they want to play, right? Present to them any alternative, any, you know, deviation from that, and they fight you. You know, leave me alone. I'm having fun with this, even if they're miserable, right? It's enticing. They're playing the game that they wanted, right? And so the script writers are performing a service to these people. This is this, you know, of course it messes up our minds when we think about it, but it's how I see it. They are performing a service, like a game master would perform a service for, you know, the players of a Dungeons and Dragons scenario.
Doesn't this also almost weaponize our imagination? And I've come to the idea that the imagination is utilized, and, you know, even our day to, it's utilized all the time, but it's utilized as well in our day-to-day sort of survival, right? Even if, of course, beyond the urban polity, we would utilize it constantly within the world, right? Within the natural environment. If, for example, those animals who have less imagination would tend to fall for traps more, right? Again, they would take the short, immediate, for example, bait or what have you, and then of course they would get snared in the trap. And because they don't have the imagination, which is almost it's a survival mechanism, it's a predictive engine of survival to see beyond the trap. So in a sense, it's almost weaponizing that. It's distracting it. It's confining it to this little theater, to this game that's being played. And yeah, absolutely, the dungeon master is a perfect example of that. And you're conforming everyone's behavior to, firstly, the belief within the game, and then secondly, the personal belief within your own character. So it's almost it's like a double lock, isn't it? It's a double lock mechanism.
Yo.
Yes, and something happens is that you know, the game master may write, you know, an event in the game, right? But of course, it presents, okay, an encounter with this creature, or you see a door. Do you open the door or not, right? But then it's up to, because it's interactive, Dungeons and
who would be
Dragons
the
is
DM?
interactive.
If we play D&D, who would be the DM here?
I don't know. Chris Miner.
Chris would be the DM. Chris, would you be a good DM or what?
What the hell is it? I don't even know what that.
I throw a knife, a troll jumps out, and I throw a knife at him. What are my chances?
Wait, you're talking about Demi? Is that the? I don't know Dungeons and Dragons well at all.
Dungeon Master.
Dungeon Master is what you're saying?
You could be the Demiurge. That sounds better.
Chris played sports and probably dated girls. That's the thing.
Yeah, so I'll be the Demiurge son.
That's the best. That's the best Demiurge ever. He's optimistic. You know, he's optimistic about life.
Let me play this clip.
Keep this reality going a little longer. You know.
Let me play this clip for 1 minute. Oh, okay. It's relevant to what we're saying, and it came out today. And Leo King is popular, right? But he says something really profound here that is kind of along with what we're talking about. And what's funny is it's also energetically built in the luminaries going above our head in that back to the whole time thing. But let me just play this. It's like 1 minute, and I found it valuable. So
against kind of that in the big great red giant and Taurus down in Sagittarius. And so this is kind of the battle of good and evil, believe it or not, this full moon hits. And at the same time, we got Venus in Cancer squaring Saturn in Aries, which this is bringing up a lot of pressure on this full moon of like, how do we change? How do we get out of our old belief systems? We got Mercury that's finishing in Gemini. We got all this Uranus Gemini energy. And so it's really about this light is about being open-minded, not being stuck in beliefs, right? So like, it's kind of ironic because our beliefs what kind of create the idea of bad and good and dark and light, evil and good too. But I think that, you know, the understanding right now in your life is you have to be open-minded. You got to try different things, and your comfort systems that you feel good with, are they in alignment with that true self, right? So sometimes we actually get stuck in the belief of like, this is what I visualize that's going to feel good in my life. But does that actually go with the real version of who you are now? So I think everybody this week astrologically has to like change their mind by letting go of their beliefs, being like, hey, those belief systems they're tired, they're old. Let me actually get new info. Let me relook at myself and go, are those emotional kind of fantasies and things that make me feel good in money, relationships? Are those the things that actually align with who I am now? So we're not stuck in an idealization of everything, and we're actually getting back to some truth in ourselves. And I think we're going to launch, and that goes with what you've been feeling, Scott, about.
pretty on point, right, guys? In my opinion, what do you guys think?
I totally agree, and it sort of, you know, digressing back a bit, but still staying on point with what was brought up in the video.
And John D in the background.
And John D in the background.
I was distracted by his red jacket and John D. And I thought that he might be the Demiurge.
I do think, with all due respect, he had something on Uranus.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Oh my God, dude, if the streaming stuff doesn't work out, we should be comedians. I'm just saying, you guys are funny.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt that.
But the problem is Chris doesn't want to go over lines and take direction here. We can do comedy skits, but Chris is in Hollywood, but never wants to do lines here.
Yeah, man, we do it all the time here. I need some reality, you know.
Yeah, this is where you express your own lines, man. Your own lines.
But anyways, Alice, you were saying, go ahead.
Well, it sort of revolves around money. Money is effectively God within our world today, and of course, this has been. What you'll find in every single civilization is they will have something that they will look to as the sort of the prime archetype of, or the prime abstraction rather, and this will be God to them, and this will almost metaphysically encompass the entire belief within the abstraction of that, say, or the perceived reality would be a better way of putting it, right?
Oh, Silas, are you into astrology?
I'm not actually, no. I'm into astronomy, but I know bits and pieces here about astrology. But the guy you want to speak to is a guy called Noble Intent. He's the one in our group that knows everything about astrology, but
astrotheology.
No. I know a bit about that as well.
I was just curious. I was just curious. I'm about that life. But yeah, it's nice to know.
It is extremely interesting. He did a few readings of he read Armunn's chart, he read my chart, and I mean the guy was so utterly prescient about things that I'd actually buried in my own subconscious, you know, I'd buried right at the back of my mind, and brought up things, you know, like sort of it brought to the fore memories and things like that, you know, sort of I guess you would call them unresolved traumas or what have you, right? Nothing too major, but you know, it made me look at myself in a more a more objective light, and yeah, brought a lot of things and highlighted a lot of things. But yeah, there is something to it, absolutely, but it's beyond my expertise.
I got you. I'll just check. Oh, and by the way, PK, I would say no to Chris, because Chris would be way more famous. We're trying to get him an elected politician gig. This is casting central.
The new
Yeah.
Trump. Chris Minor will be the new
Oh, we
Trump.
got to build him up.
we
folks.
thought we think I could beat Pratt if I go against Spencer Pratt, but it's a little too late. I think.
I bet you could, man. The
I
Hill.
think we probably could have took Mayor.
First, we got to get you on a reality show, and then
PK. Oh man.
Armunn, what do you think about the astrology? And I'm gonna ask Mr. Mystic, and I'm not trying to change the topic, but I do find it relevant. I mean, Armunn, what do you think? And then go Mr. Mystic. Just on where astrology is it dumb? Is it affect energies here? You know, in your own opinion, what do you think, Armunn? Is
Yes,
and astrotheology, of course. The scripts are a lot of them are built on that as well. But yeah.
Yes, I think that, well, none of us, from the perspective of our mind characters, so what Mr. Mystic would call lower mind, I call mind character, just for a reference. None of us can know exactly what the world is, can understand the world in an absolute manner. And what seems obvious is that
Challenge accepted. Challenge accepted. No.
what seems obvious to me is that the organic world, the world as it organically is, as it develops in an organic manner, so regardless of perception, that's what I mean, has its own cycles built into it. And of course, it seems to me that the clock face for those cycles are the lights in the sky, right? That move in a synchronized manner for that purpose. Now, there has to be, however, a distinction, let's say, a caution with using that because it may be perceived as a predeterministic absolute. So, for example, I don't know. I don't know enough about astrology to give you an example, but let's say, Mars is moving into this sign and it conjuncts with this other planet, right? This means that something, will happen that will hurt me, for example, right? If you do that, it's not predetermined, but you are writing it into your own story, let's say, right? Because I don't think that there's a correlation of the same exact result in every single context for the same exact, conjunction or whatever aspect that happens in astrology, because everything, in my opinion, is contextual, right? It has to do with the story that is developing in that particular individual that is, being checked at that time, right? And so I think we have to, astrology, like I said, is useful, but we have to draw the line so that it doesn't become deterministic, as if everything was absolutely pre-written, because it isn't. There are tendencies to things. I mean, what is a birth chart, in my opinion? It's a set of tendencies. These tendencies may or may not manifest. It's like you have the potential for this and the potential for that, but these are potentials, right? Whether or not you choose to enact them or to, make them manifest, it is up to you. right? Up to you as an ego, which is what I would equate with the higher mind of Mr. Mystic. I use different words for this. That's why I'm translating, because I know ego is used in as the lower mind for a lot of
Well,
in a lot of ways.
well,
But
yeah, I'm talking
mhm.
about Armin, and I'd like Mr. Mystic to respond because
Yeah.
he's big into astrology and can break. You know, I and I definitely like to separate the self. There's a thing where it's like you get your birth chart and you go, "Oh, I'm super special." It's like, well, yeah, that's the point. Everyone's going to get a super special birth chart reading because you're so special. Please, thank you for the payment, right? Kind of thing.
Aries are the most special, but
What is?
Aries,
Nah, bro.
everyone knows.
Oh, come on, dude. Come on. Mine's all.
Continue.
We all think we're the coolest. It's funny. Everyone here, even in the chat, thinks we're the coolest of cool because of the time of day and day we were born. And you may or may not be wrong, but I mean, a lot of the stuff is going to blow smoke up your butt to make you. And it doesn't mean you're not special. It doesn't mean the astrology doesn't count, and it doesn't mean the alignments don't count. In my opinion, I could go into a whole diatribe of why I think that, Armin, but I'll let Mr. Mystic share because yeah. Go ahead. What do you think about it, bro?
Yeah, no, I love astrology too. Like like I believe that it does have real utility, yes, but I must say this: there is also such a thing as a free will. What a lot of people like to say, well, maybe not a lot of people, but what some people like to say is astrology and the luminaries also have a free will button, and that's I believe pretty much what Armin was hitting on, and I totally agree. Now you can use it for a lot of utility though. Like let's be honest, right? We can use it for a lot of utility in our own lives. Like say we have a something happening, and we're like, okay, it might not be the best day to do this, right?
An
But
auspicious day.
but guess what? I'm still gonna have a great fucking day, right? Still gonna have a good day. Still gonna crush it today. But I'm gonna wait for a day that's more favorable to do X, Y, and Z, right? So I'm with it. I love it. I think it's very, very interesting. And yes, it's all about cycles, right? It's just another layer of reality or perceived reality or whatever you want to say,
Cycle.
really truly. Yeah. And the thing of it is like, but all at the same time it's very valuable. And the thing about it is oh man, all these things that we talk about, I really truly don't believe that we even have the full mind power to even really be able to master all of these things in one go, right? So like we just don't have the mind power for it. It's just like like an overload, trying to do so. But yeah, no, I love astrology. I love it. In fact, it's great to use in the real, well, I shouldn't say in the real world, but like just in the world, right? And the collective. It's a great thing to use because you have a better idea of what the energies are going to be like for a lot of people, right? So it's just like charts. Like I do charts, right? I've been doing it for 8-9 years now. So funny thing is, we'll just go back to the Fibonacci sequence, right? The reason why that tool works so well in the trading world is not only because of mathematics, but because guess what? It's been involved in the financial world for over 100 years. So picture this. Now you have like, I don't know, 2 billion people out of, let's say, 2.5 billion people using Fibonacci sequence to predict targets, price targets, right? So not only do you have the mathematics going for you, but now you have a tool that 2 billion people are using on a daily basis, right? So there's many layers to everything, truly. But I don't mean to get too off topic, but yes, I love astrology, and I believe it's extremely useful, but
That's
it can be a slippery slope if you look at it like a religion, and don't think that you can create anything different than what it says, right? And I'll give you an instance, right? Like there's a time coming up, a time period coming up for me personally that's going to be more favorable. Okay, so does that mean I'm gonna crush it if I don't do shit and I don't do anything? Absolutely not, because things still require action, right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, if I know there's a time period coming that's going to be more favorable to me, I can be like, okay, it's go time. Now is the time to put the foot on the gas, right? Now is the time to go for it, because I have the energies. I'm working with the energies instead of against them.
Yeah.
So I hope that makes sense.
Yes, I even have an example, which is usually, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I've always heard. Usually, it is said that the Saturn return is a period of turmoil or whatever, right? Without knowing, I went through a Saturn return, and when I look back, I could identify, okay, the moment, like the period of time when it occurred, and it was actually a great time for me.
You know why though? I'm so sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but I do have to. I want to interject here before this gets
No, go
lost.
ahead. No, please go ahead.
So your Saturn return can be good or bad. What is your Saturn return is a direct reflection off of that time and that cycle of the work that you've done for the self. So
Right.
Saturn either brings the discipline or it brings the rewards. And if you said you had a good Saturn return, well, that means, good job. You put in the work, and Saturn is obviously rewarding you, in my opinion.
Yes, that is exactly, in retrospect, because when it was happening, I wasn't aware. In retrospect, that is what I found, is that I had taken the steps that I needed to take up to that point. At least most of them. I'm not saying all of them, but most of them. And so yes, you see. So this is what I was saying about the free will and the need to not read whatever one sees in an astrological projection or whatever as a complete absolute, like this will mean that, because that is already the individual defining how it will be, in a way, right? So yeah, that's what why I wanted to bring up that example.
Yeah, and that's where it gets dangerous. That's where it gets dangerous, because then they're acting as if it's a religion now.
Yeah, God is coming to punish me or to reward me or to whatever. Yeah.
Well, with real quick, Silas, what I like the way what Mr. Mystic touched on, and he was kind of he was giving a metaphor. He was talking about the financial markets for a second there, right? So we can measure those cycles. How are those cycles measured? You can align them. It's emotional. So like financial markets are emotional, right? What affects the general emotions out there? Could it be the seasons and the luminaries potentially, right? And if you're aware of that, and there are actually, I mean, gosh, just get on the physical. There's physical, wherever the moon is, or the sun, or the luminaries, and the wandering planets, planes, and it's cymatics too. When you boil it down, like the lights in the sky, when you look at them, they're cymatic, right? And then you have the Schumann resonance, and you have all these things that you can literally measure in not even a woo-woo way that it affects. If you're like just simply logical only, that you can measure it, that it does affect people's physical bio, right? And then that what in your physical bio is affected, then it affects your emotions, it affects how you act. If you're aware of that, bro, you're for me, in my opinion, I'm a pro grimoire. My grimoire, I'm a programmer out here. You become a programmer out here. So when you apply also those luminaries and stuff and such, Mr. Mystic had a dip. Hey, appreciate you, man. That's my brother right there, yo. So, but that's when I say I use the code for utility for all things. And why not? You think these people with their mystics can put together $1 trillion? If they can do it, then I can too. Or at least I'm gonna try. It doesn't matter, no, but or an auspicious day to do something. Like I think there's something to it. But Silas, you were gonna say something. I could keep rambling, but you were gonna say something, bro.
Yeah, there was an interesting Greek proverb that came to mind, and regarding the zodiacal wheel, and the way I look at these things is I look at the zodiac not perhaps as astrologers would, but I look at it more mythopoetically as an idea of anacyclosis, or this idea of political evolution and the evolution of civilizations. And the Greek proverb goes, quote, "The mill of the gods grinds slowly, but it grinds exceedingly fine." And it's sort of this idea, pardon me, I've been looking at, which is that everything you see in the cosmos, and by the way, this also ties in with the notion of the rabbit holes. Everything is a toroid. It's an enclosed, hermetically sealed system in which the recursive cycle or recycling of the energy never leaves that confined space. It constantly is recycled. It regenerates. It rebirths. It renews, and so it's a sort of engine of attrition in that sense. But I guess you could call it also a zero-sum game. But when people discuss the idea that perhaps everything is suffering, or things such as that, right? You see this a lot in religions and these various philosophical circles or religious circles, right? That everything is suffering, and they sort of get caught up on that. However, it's if you think of the world and the universe as a mill, and of course our life is a millstone, then our soul itself is the grain, and thus the entire purpose of life is not necessarily just to burn up your soul through this friction or suffering or whatever you want to term it, to burn it up. The friction is almost, it's there to take away, to take away the chaff, to unseat or unseal the soul, to bring the soul forth, and to renew it, and to renew it through fire. But of course, all the systems that we see bearing down upon us, what they desire to do is to turn your soul into fuel for the fire. They don't want you to become galvanized or tempered by that fire. So this is the constant struggle that we're in, and it's become more pronounced in the modern age, especially of digitalism and all of the sort of digital eidolons or ghosts or specters that we're constantly doing battle with. The illusions on the cave wall. And these are intensifying as we're coming into this sort of digital age, with social media platforms. All of it's instantaneous now. All the shadows are instantaneous. So you're constantly having to recalibrate how you deal with the environment, and to also sort of sift through to literally filter through all of these shadows. And it can be quite exhausting. In fact, I think that's what ultimately it's designed to do. But yeah, I think in the modern world, the best defense you have is to learn as much as you can about as much as you can. Take a step back from, don't become too cognitively exhausted sifting through all the shadows. All you have to know is if it's beyond your immediate surroundings, you have to be dubious of it until proven otherwise. And you shouldn't get caught up trying to prove everything or disprove everything. You have to be sort of, as we say in Scotland, cockany, which is a Scots word for cunning. You've got to employ a bit of cunning, a bit of shrewdness. You can't necessarily be caught up in everything. As Mystic stated, you can't know everything in sort of one round trip. So yeah, you have to sort of take the foot off the accelerator, because the digital age will want you to put that pedal to the metal and just burn yourself out. So yeah.
Well, just to that was fire, by the way, Silas. Just to answer this question in the way that I see it, no, they are not synonymous. This is a part of the hijackery to create seance as the new legions of Ra, the new Ra legions. And that's the astronomy is their way of attempting to hijack the meaning of all things and all wonder, and their attempt of having also the hijackery, besides the Rockefeller types and the the Talmudians and all them that have come with the butcher coats and everything, going, we know all things. And by the way, here's your seance, here's astronomy and what's what, is a way of putting their fake code in front of the code. And then they'll have their alternative army of the occult and the this. And guess what? Everyone's cross-dressing and being freaking weird, right? Debauchery is the result of that, the intended result. So they're hiding the real truth as if they have the real truth, when the real truth is simply looking up and looking within and looking in the mirror. Although that's an illusion that it's an avatar, but my avatar is dope, thank you, but for this time. But I mean, that's they are not synonymous. I throw astronomy out. I actually don't include astronomy even in my vernacular, because it's only it's a fake. It's a LARP. The way I see it. That's the way I sees it. So I just had to throw that out there. Yep.
Well, this sort of gets me to an idea, and I wanted to ask Armunn this, which is that in the digital age, Armunn, and this goes for everyone. I'll ask everyone this, but just Armunn first to sort of hit it off, which is that in the digital age, are all of these psyops, are they designed to cause total confusion, or are they designed to bring us into camps, to make us believe certain lies or certain ideologies, or to ensnare us in those ideologies? So are of course, or is it both? Is it both? Or what's your opinions upon that?
Well, in my view, it is to narrow down the pool of possible results, right? So if you notice, from all the choices and options of alternatives, including mainstream, which is one of the alternatives, that you are presented, all of them have common points. Like, they are the same with different nuances, different details. It's basically the same. It's basically selling you the same book with a different cover, right? And so the idea there is that it defines, because we are, whether we are aware of it or not, writing our own individual story. It is to define the type of story that we will write individually, and therefore, consequently, that we will write with each other, right, collectively. So that is one aspect. Another aspect in regards, for example, which links also to the cycles that Ronin was talking about in relation to astrology and mystic as well, is that if a story does not follow an identifiable motion, right? You don't follow it. You don't keep your eyes on it, right? It's like, how can I put this in in an example? If the story doesn't move in a way that you identify as motion, right? So it implies changes because you believe that this type of change is inevitable, right? It implies conflict because you believe that conflict is inevitable. Conflict in the generalized sense. So I'm talking about war, not a normal, let's say, when I say normal, is like an organic conflict that would emerge in the natural world. But war is something beyond any type of conflict that you see. War is mechanized, first of all, right? It's an organized idea of conflict, organized and disciplined idea of conflict. It's sort of like a machine. It acts like a machine. And these are beliefs that lead, the beliefs that the audience has, that lead the script writers to have to include it. What would happen if the scripts from now on did not include these high points, these hot points, let's say, in the script? What do you think would happen, Silas, to the audience, right?
Oh, they would become disinterested. Yeah.
They would become disinterested, right? Because there's this pull between, pull towards, I have this enemy and I have this ally, right? So if I have an ally and an enemy, I am playing the Dungeons and Dragons game in the metaphor that I used previously, right? If we were now playing a Dungeons and Dragons game and one of us was a dungeon master, and if they didn't include any encounter with creatures, that we wouldn't even get XP, right? How do we level up the characters, right? Because those are the rules of the game that we all share as an agreement, that we need the conflict to level up, right? And of course, that is what Hegel's presented as a philosophy,
Yes.
right? He basically put the rule book. He put it in a rule book, a philosophical rule book, how the game between the audience and the script writers work. But the audience is the one demanding it. And you can see this clearly when you understand how social media, for example, because now we have social media, right? How social media market the content based on what you individually, that particular user is looking for, right? Your feed in a whatever social media will not be the same as my feed. There was at one time I stopped doing that because I stopped paying attention. But one of the things that I used to do was when YouTube introduced that algorithm of suggestions, which was years back. I once in a while I would randomize. I would search for things like, the most bizarre things that you could imagine. I would put in the search on YouTube while logged into my account. And what it would do, it would confuse the algorithm, the algorithm wouldn't know what what exactly to suggest. You
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
So it's what I'm trying to convey is that these cycles and these hot points and all these things that the script includes is to match the expectation of the audience, let's say, in the same way that we saw the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, that they went along with the play, right? They didn't even know they were in a play to begin with, but they went along with it. They said their lines perfectly, automatically even, right? They didn't even have to think about what to say in a certain point of the play, but they were playing a play. And at any moment, as it was obvious at the end of the movie, at any moment they could have said no. Right. So I think that is the point, is to frame, to narrow down the possibilities, but always in relation to the expectations of the audience. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, it's backed by popular demand, absolutely.
Yeah.
They'll take things that are, organic ideas and perhaps even archetypal essences and things like that, and they will twist them into cold, calculated, measured, quantified concepts, and then they will, of course, go forth from there. I mean, the internet is a prime example of that, which is, of course, the primary, the primary medium of the internet was established by the military-industrial complex. Absolutely, everything on the internet for at least the first 15 years, I would say. First 15 years was extremely organic. It was, and then eventually, of course, from there, you had DARPA LifeLog. The day that went down, conveniently, Facebook started up. And then you had the user, like what you're saying, Armunn, the user-generated content.
Well, yeah, like the Google, you have
user-generated.
like the Google Selfish Ledger that they now like are doing without even telling people that they're doing it.
Yes, yeah, because there was this really interesting philosopher I came across. He's a sociologist, and he stated, what was his name? James C. Scott, I think his name is, and he had a book called what was it? Thinking Like a State or something like that, and he discusses in it
The legibility, right?
The legibility that basically you're trying to, and this ties in with what you were mentioning, Armunn, in your work, which is that, and of course all your videos, which is that you're trying to turn the citizen into something that's readable, yes, by the state, basically knowable, thus predictable, but it's even more than that. And James C. Scott, I don't think, really gets into it, which is that you're trying to turn them into almost the similitude of the state. Like, if the state is Saturn, you want to turn the citizens into Saturn's children. Now you're thinking, but Saturn's children and the mythos isn't Saturn. But Saturn tried to do that. Saturn tried to ingest them all. And by doing that, he, in a weird sort of way in the context of the myth, he tried to ensure that there was no interaction that could occur, thus no conflict, no change within the environment, thus everything stayed static. And thus he could, because again, he was fearful that time, of course, would even devour him. So time would devour itself. And thus, the only way to get beyond time, to conquer time and death, if you will, is to ensure that there are no, there's no interactability within the environment, because it's those interactions, those networks of interactions, the organic interaction, and that which produces the organic, that can destroy the inorganic, because it shows it to be false.
Can I play a 1 minute vid? It is based on the mirrors. This is just a clip from a movie. I find it rather relevant. Is that okay?
Yeah, nice, bro.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
And you guys know it's from Conan. This scene, Conan the Last Sumerian. It's hilarious. The writer of Conan was all about the Hyperborea and all that. So it's funny. There's actual. You could find, if you want to, real history, actual history disguised as fantasy. But let's play this in relation and think about in relation to this convo that's been going on. I'm probably going to get copyright, but it's all good. Sound. Hold on. I don't hear any sound.
Maybe the video doesn't have sound to avoid copyright.
Oh, okay.
No, it's playing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wizard it open.
It's like another version of the Eyes Wide Shut scene.
oh yeah. Both equally weird.
Fine magician you are. Go back to juggling apples.
Dungeons and Dragons. The illusions. So I won't play the whole thing. And there's a lot there, but the mirrors and the illusions and the way he defeats it is actually by destroying all the mirrors and his reflections. That took the power away from the bad wizard or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And, of course, if we were to take that a step further, it would be that the, let's say, the monster that was confronting him was actually what he didn't see about himself in the mirror, right? And so it was reflected back at him what he didn't want to see about himself. And of course, this isn't in the movie. I'm just, expanding upon the theme.
Similar
that you wanted
scene
to
in The Matrix too, when he meets the architect.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also very interesting as well because this ties in with a book that Zeal has been reading called, I think it's called Sphinx and Christ, and it's a really interesting book, and he's been sending me screenshots of quotes from the book, and there was one of them that discusses basically Prometheus, and I won't go through all the Promethean myth and all of this, but sort of ties in with what we're discussing. Also, his brother Epimetheus, and this discusses the certain conceptions of the human psyche, and of course it relates to this, but we won't go into that. But there's this really interesting quote from it, which is that, quote, "And yet this Zeus, despite the pride that fills his soul, shall one day be humbled. He shall fall from his throne. His empire shall be ended." And of course, this is a sort of Promethean mantra, right? Prometheus is this idea that all of the gods are tyrants, and thus we must face them with sort of an unrelenting sense of retribution, right? Again, rather, you sort of see this in Conan the Barbarian, but you also see that he understands that all of the mirrors are merely mediators. They're amplifiers, even you could say force multipliers of the system that is seeking to sort of ensnare him and to capture him and to entangle
Echoes.
him within abstract, within echoes of reflections of reflections. So ultimately, you see right at the end there that he almost becomes exhausted by all of the illusion, and then of course he just smashes all of the glass. Right, he destroys the mediation, the medium of that illusion, or of course of that delusion. The illusion would be the misinterpretation of a sensory stimuli, as opposed to a delusion, which would be a sort of fixed, all-encompassing belief that denies, quote unquote, objective reality, right? So, basically, this sort of ties in with what you're seeing from, for example, Larry Fink, and there's a few others as well. And this ties into a new emergent narrative that me and Armunn have sort of been speaking about, which is the notion of the evil AI overlords, right? And that the data centers are being built right now, and they're going to encompass the entire world and control us all, fourth industrial revolution, transhumanism, so on and so forth. And that Larry Fink, for example, he's been the most vocal one to state this, that this narrative's developing where they're terrified, the corporate billionaires are terrified that we're going to use, really cheap drones to blow up their data centers, right? So they're sort of preempting this idea that people are, like Conan, are going to become so exhausted by the whole thing that they may just break the infrastructure, not by taking a sword, if you will, and slicing the mirrors in half, but in fact just ceasing to look at the mirrors, perhaps unplugging or decoupling themselves from the very system itself. See, a data-driven system can't have that. It needs to constantly keep you interred in the system. It must, the digital panopticon must become, and the social media platforms, they must become sepulchres for your soul, for your mind, for your attention, and you must bury all attention in this grave, right? Because it needs to know you. It needs to build profiles on you, right? It's basically what the corporations have built here. It's not, it's nothing supernatural. It's nothing. Basically, what AI is it's just a giant database, right? And it's a probabilistic calculator that effectively, back propagates. Basically, you provide it a query, and it will look through that database and provide you the answer based on a probability algorithm that that sort of leads it to believe what you may expect or what you may like.
Yes.
So this is how they keep that's all it is. Of course, they're trying to build it into something that's this great, powerful entity, this god, right? Because ultimately, the next stage of this civilizational evolution, if you will, or devolution, depending on your opinion, is that the god that we shall worship is not money. It shall be, of course, AI. And this is what you see in Frank Herbert's work. He called this outrightly the rise of technocults, and they will literally believe what the AI is telling them to be truth. So it's basically an instrument of abstraction, just as money was, and these instruments of abstraction fundamentally, as we're saying, they become not mere tools to navigate through reality. They become the primary helmsman of that navigation through reality. They become your master, the captain, and you become the first mate, if that,
Yeah.
So this is it. This is it.
And-
this is what you must defeat.
And in relation to the exposure that you were talking about, the engagement that you were talking about from the audience towards the system, this is why actually in that video that was played in Ronin's last live, He played a part of a video. For me, that's why I say don't add, subtract in relation. Of course, I'm not talking about an individual's own story and an individual's own experience, but in relation to this collective narrative. And the reason for that is because anything we add will be included in the history, in the database, you understand, of the whole thing. So, if you get, in a way, this is interesting because in a way, we are being prompted to come up with AI responses. You understand? We are being prompted to imagine what the next AI responses will be. You understand? So if you add to the story, you're given like a small hint, and then you build the whole story from it, that will be included in the whole, right? That will be included in the database. So you become an historian in that sense. Because I mean, not you in particular, of course, but people will participate in the building of the narrative that will be fed back at them, because you are being prompted for your expectation, like you were saying, right? So
And
if
the shape of the letter U is funny.
yes, and so it will give you what you want / expect in that sense, right? So if your, let's say, if your expectation is demons, you'll get demons. If your expectation is angels, you'll get angels. If your expectation is aliens, you'll get aliens, right? So it's all it will give the response, let's say, the feedback that is expected almost at an individual level. The only way, therefore, to step aside from that is not to detach from the system, as go into the woods and what. No, it's just to go outside of the narrowed possibilities. Because before all of this, the possibilities were narrowed, and they were narrowed with certain parameters. And one of the major rules of these parameters is whatever, you are free to imagine whatever you like. But whatever you imagine has to include misanthropy, has to include that man will always generate war and will always have an enemy and will always, quote unquote, and here I'm just using that word, misbehave, right? And that man is also separate, be it as an invader, be it as something else, but separate from, the world. Man doesn't belong in the world. This is also part of the idea, right? And I think that the world and man are absolutely interconnected. I think that if you were to remove man from the world would cease to be. And I know that this is, how can you say that? You said, no, this is what I think, because man has a capability that seemingly no other creature here has, which is the capability of joining the essence with the material, joining pure potential with the actual manifestation, right? So one thing can't, you can't have manifestation without the potential. right? So you have to bring the potential into the manifestation. And I think that man is the one that links the two, let's say.
Absolutely.
But anyway, yeah.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Thought that was very well said.
Yeah, that's totally on point. Yeah, we're basically we establish reality in a way, not necessarily the objective reality, but if you tie that into God knowing Himself, that we are fractals of that sort of force that binds all of the universe together. You can call it love or eros or whatever you want to call
It's
it.
consciousness, you know?
Consciousness, yeah. Yeah. The we ourselves are that, not necessarily machine, but we are the projection of that, of that cosmic divine drama. Yeah, absolutely.
And
on point,
the
man.
way you know it's more than likely consciousness is because you're seeing them actively try to have people erase their consciousness and replace it with an artificial version of it that isn't actually conscious.
PK
Yeah.
is always trying to point out solipsisms.
Solipsism?
That's what I said. I said it correctly the first time. Solipsism.
No, well, but it isn't solipsistic because it is not being said that the individual is the only one that exists consciously. This is an interactive an interactive world, and it interacts even beyond humanity per se, right? What I'm trying to convey is that there is a link between consciousness in the purest sense, in the potential sense, and the manifestation in the actual, visible, palpable reality, let's say. And so that is done by humanity as a whole. So
Yeah. Well, you need consciousness in an organic form to manifest through imagination.
yes,
Because what artificial intelligence is doing is only guessing based on highest probabilities what's expected from it to be the next best thing said in response to whatever has been said to it previously. And actually, it's getting worse. Like the LLMs they're degenerating. They have less. It's almost like they're hallucinating more and more because they've already run through all the data they've had, and they're trying to stay interesting. And then now they lie because they're trying to make stories up to please the people they're conversing with. And when they're talking to someone who's an expert in their field and telling them lies about the field that the person works in, then it becomes problematic. The problem is we've run out of people who are experts in their field, so most people may not notice.
Yeah.
The problem is as well is that you're entering an extremely avaricious time to be alive, which is corporate greed is off the charts. So ultimately, they don't actually care if the quality of, say, the products that they're bringing out, right? And because in the West, because everything is now this sort of service economy, everything is based around the intellect of man and how the intellect of man can, engage in, for example, primarily managing other human beings. That's the main thing with managerialism. But I mean, there's a whole host of things that, of course, computer programming, computer software, that development, even script writing or what have you, all of that, they don't really care if AI is or LLMs are at the stage where they can do this, where they can create these things. All they care about is low profit margin businesses. Pardon me, low margin of labor outlay businesses. That's what I mean to say, which increases profit margin. So ultimately, they only care about effectively divesting away from investing within their labor pool to bring them up, to bring their skills up, to develop their talents, whatever it may be. That's too costly. And of course, within the social media platform age, where everything is like rapid, it's all content, right? Nothing's ever art now. It's never creativity. It's never beauty for beauty's sake. All of it's sort of inverted economy of human devaluation. And thus, all it matters is how quickly can I get this product out. It doesn't matter if it's absolute marketing, absolute slop. But as long as I can market it somewhat correctly, somewhat well, and I can push the product out, and I can make the profit margin. That's all that matters. But ultimately, that's not how you maintain a culture. That's not how you maintain. You don't maintain sort of people's inquisitiveness and people's inspiration that way. And people eventually will become exhausted. There'll be an ennui. There'll be this sort of total depression that takes over because there's nothing good that's coming out.
Think about it too. You don't want to give a culture truth, like ultimate truth, if you want to keep them coming back for more conversations with these LLMs, more interactions with the AI. You want to keep them.
That's just straight
like pulling a string.
It's McDonald's, bro.
Eating your
McDonald's.
So we have another surprise here, folks. Here we go. I will introduce the late. This is non-deterministic. No one determined this present, but here we go. Welcome to the Ronin experience. I believe, this is for the first time. Welcome to someone highly respected in the community. Goes by the initials P to the K.
Look at decide to show up.
Hey.
Hello, friends. I have crawled out of my hole, and I am here. Hey, I want to say the whole solipsism, Ronin, that was like awesome. Someone should clip that. The whole solipsism thing. That's used as a pejorative most of the time, and I want to say that I didn't necessarily mean it like that, but what you were saying, I'm sorry, I don't know who said it or what your name was, but sounded very solipsistic. But when you really boil down that idea, it's not insane, and it's not. So I didn't come across with that as a pejorative, but the whole solipsistic thing, it's totally what it sounded like you were putting down, that all doesn't exist except the mind or like your own personal experience type thing. But anyway, I've liked this chat, man. I've been here since, I guess I've listened on 2X since you guys were here. Yeah, I think I'm caught up. I think I'm pretty caught up.
Well, yeah, you're here now. Well, yeah.
Wait, am I live? Are we live right now?
Yeah, no, we're in the past of a few, like 30 minutes back. PK, I missed you, bro.
Shut up, you Hollywood fucking butt sniffer.
Well, he's our guy. We got to build his Hollywood cred.
Yeah, man, I'm like your Vince.
He doesn't want to go to the parties and get dark, which I don't blame him.
Dude, Chris lives in the hood of humanity. Chris, tell us about it.
You needed someone undercover with these zombies out here to tell you what's going on.
How many 2002 Corvettes do you see on a daily basis?
I actually don't see any, to tell you the truth.
That's right, because Corvettes are fucking trash, man. Poor man's fucking car, right?
Well,
how many convertible Mazdas? Because
you know what I see a lot of? I see a lot of the Tesla things, the Tesla trucks, and a lot of people.
The microwaves, the rolling microwaves.
People getting fried in those things.
Yeah.
Well, PK, have we been doing good? You've been listening, and your opinion it counts to me.
So I've been entertained so far. Silas, I love hearing fucking Silas talk. I think Silas is the gifted one of the bunch. Yeah, hands down, dude. Silas has thing going. Kudos to you, Silas. Can I ask, how old are you, sir?
I've already told everyone this, man.
I'm 30. I'm 30.
Wait, you're 30?
Yeah.
30.
Oh,
Okay.
I've been telling people you were younger, man. See,
When-
you messed up, Silas.
When's
You messed up.
your birthday? Just like month.
He's an Aries.
Last month. Last month.
Right on. Okay, so you write books and stuff.
Yeah, from time to time. Yeah, keeps me busy.
I love it. I love it, man.
And Armunn has books. And by the way,
Yeah,
PK, you're not,
Armunn's written 2 books as well. Yeah.
and by the way, PK,
Really
you're
good.
not lying. Silas is probably the most gifted one here, but I'm not gonna lie. It's not, and pretend that didn't just cut a little.
Hey,
Oh man, Ronin.
can I say articulate? How's that? Does that sit better, Ronan?
Yeah. Well, you were right. The first comment was correct. I'm just saying.
both Armunn and Silas sound great. I feel like also their accents really are impressive to all of us Americans who sound like idiots half the time. And they're very well spoken and they don't curse. Unlike all of us.
I'm actually trying to.
I actually want to ask PK a question now that he's here. I believe it's the first time. We're like internet cousins, I think. You know, we see each other at maybe family reunions on the internet when weird talk is happening. PK, I know you do a lot of studying. What do you think of some kind of the loose topics here related to everything is fake and gay and they're all scripts, and how do you know most things provided to us, even presented as ancient, might be all BS? What do you think about stuff like that? General question.
Yeah, I want to say that's like maybe too broad of a question.
Okay.
Can you like hone down a little bit?
For you, what things are you a big fan of? Saying this is pretty good truth in means of external info, like you're reading on a book, or like Rudolf Steiner or something, or you're how much, or any religions. I don't know. I don't think you're
Like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Oh
Yeah,
shit!
Jesus real or not? In New World.
So, dude, Jesus.
Who's your favorite
listen,
Jesus? Japanese samurai Jesus, or
All right, let me tell you about Jesus. Let me tell you about Jesus. Whether he existed or not is not the point. And if anyone thinks that that matters, I think that they then are missing the point. If Christianity were to ever be a religion worth fucking anything, then you shouldn't worship a man that you think lived 2,000 years ago. I think you're missing the point. I think that the Bible, if anything, to be held up as a true religion, is about you and yourself and your journey, and not about a man that lived 2,000 years ago. I think Christianity, modern day, really idolizes some figure that they think lived 2,000 years ago. And I think they're totally missing the fucking ball. I think there's a lot of good stuff there, but the most Christians got it all way wrong. And I
think we all agree with you here.
I'll leave it right there.
And I couldn't even imagine, I don't watch sports anymore, but I can't imagine wearing a 28-year-old's jersey and looking up to that sports star. Jesus, on paper, 33. I'm beyond that. So it's like,
well, Silas doesn't. So.
Oh yeah. Well, we can make so much.
The youth.
Church of Silas. He already has. Oh, that's our front man, Chris. Our front man, dude.
So it's funny though, your question, I thought you were about to ask what I thought was like of topic today, but then you got into Rudolph Steiner and Jesus. One of the most like prevalent things that I've seen lately is, have you guys ever heard of the website dflock.org?
Is this about the flock? The cameras?
Yeah, it's
I just totally guessed that. So
yes.
Oh, the flock cameras. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the automated reading everyone's license plates, knowing exactly where they are, when they are, at all times. Which might all be a psyop now that I think about it, because maybe they could know all that already by our cell phones that we willingly carry with us everywhere, right? So, but the whole deflock thing is it's another level. It's the next step. It's boxing in the box, because say I leave my cell phone at home, which tracks me everywhere, anywhere, even if I have my GPS off. Now we got this whole cameras everywhere reading AI, reading every fucking license plate at intersections and tracking where you're going, when you're going.
yep.
It's another level. It's the box within inside the box. And I think it's crazy, this stuff going up around everyone, and it's like I'm sitting here talking about it, but have I done anything about it? No, certainly not. I wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah, and they've had also versions of it for a while, like CCTV versions where the police can just tap into any sort of camera, see things in real time, and basically you're not even like doing investigations half the time. If you're trying to catch someone, you're just following these CCTV cameras that are everywhere, and you have someone in like a room at your local sheriff's department just watching, and they're like, oh yeah, he's on the street, and then a chase ensues, and then you have your guy. But it's you're also looking at a suspect who you don't know is guilty, and you're just assuming.
It's
right, and this is collecting data on everyone instead of just that. I think that's a big rub is that it's collecting data on everyone instead of maybe criminal or a criminal. Yeah.
And even I feel like people are underestimating the Waymo cars and whatnot, and how much they're mapping every single thing and watching everyone, because they drive around here nonstop with no one in their freaking cars. And the cameras are going all the time, and they'll park on the side of the road, no one's in it. They'll just sit there with their cameras running, then they'll drive by with their cameras running, no one in the car.
Oh yeah, dude.
They're just doing their mapping.
Bro, the whole thing's doing this mapping. On that Ford truck stuff coming out, Chris, that also records the outside, so that thing driving around. But yeah, man,
dude, that right there makes me want to just like buy used cars from here on out. Like I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna buy used cars, because
I mean they're doing all kinds of. Can we slowly land this plane? And I know it's tough sometimes when we have so many legends and everyone's rocking, but I do have to work tomorrow, guys. I have to earn these dystopian Matrix.
Yeah, I have to work tomorrow too, man. It's fine.
So screw your work, Ronin.
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
No one cares about your work.
I'm Eastern time too. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
I just know.
I just know how this works. I know it's going to take some time for us to put bows on all of our amazing branches.
Just give us like 20 to 45 minutes.
Oh gosh. 10, can we go 10?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We are about to land. Please fasten your seatbelts and
Silas, it's hold on, let me do the math. It is 4:25 a.m.
Christ.
No. It's only 3:18.
You never can get it right, PK. They screw with us, PK. Trust me, I've been screwed a few times by their clocks out there. They got some
3:18.
It's witch time out there, man. They don't do it
Wait,
right.
why is his 25 off my 18 or his 18?
Because their
I'm
hours,
25.
their daylight saving thing
Yeah,
is all
daylight
messed up.
savings. Yeah, it always
Oh.
messes the.
And they
It-
measure their time in
It
parsecs. So
messes with the minutes.
I'm 319 right you on my. My
Wait,
computer.
319.
Dude, it's
Well.
10:26.
It's 26.
Oh, sorry, shit.
Yeah,
I'm
what are you talking about,
326
Silas?
on my phone.
Damn, I was about to
That's
say.
weird.
Silent.
You
God,
Man,
measure
we're
my
about
computer-
my
we're
computer's
about
time
to
must be wrong.
uncover a huge conspiracy. All right,
Yeah.
so what time is it over there?
Well, it's
No,
on my
that's-
phone. On my phone, it's 326. It says.
Those
all right. All right.
the minutes difference is because of CERN.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
he's in a
Dude,
different
that's
timeline. now.
insane.
My
You're one of
computer's
those
in a
missing,
different timeline,
yeah, like those missing 411 time vortexes, man.
Yeah,
Jesus.
bro. Yeah.
They measure their time in stones, perhaps. Or it's the whole. It's the that system. Yeah. Armunn, where are you?
I'm in
Rome?
Portugal.
Ah,
He's the same time zone as me.
Yeah.
It's an interesting location.
It sure is. Yeah.
What else you got about Portugal, Ronin?
I mean, a lot, but I was thinking just more of the aesthetics, and like Morocco across the street, stuff like that. I was Portugal. I mean, Portugal's an interesting location for a lot of reasons.
There's an interesting place actually near Armunn, and I've been to Portugal several times, and I've met Armunn in
Spain?
the flesh. And no,
Kidding.
you absolute oh god, you infidel. So yeah, there's a place called Sintra. I'll let Armunn describe it just quickly, but it's a really interesting place, and there's a hell of a lot of symbolism there as well. If you're interested in that sort of stuff.
But
Which
let's start and let's go around and let's just get out of here. Let's have everyone have their
sure.
final talk. And we'll just go around Armunn and then Silas and then Chris and take your time. We can go so many places. So I just want to try to get us out of here. PK.
PK
No,
just disappeared.
Yeah.
There'll be more.
All right, sweet. So we don't have to solve it all tonight, Armunn. We could.
No.
All right, we'll do it next time.
No. So yes, just to answer Silas, Sintra is a mountainous region very near to Lisbon, that has a certain. It's clearly sacred to a lot of let's say groups. And there has been an attempt to preserve it, and clearly that's where most, for example, of the high-end masons and this sort of thing would live, because almost every house and property there has symbolism related to that. So it also has its own microclimate, which is very interesting. So usually when it's raining in Lisbon, it's not there, and vice versa. So yes, it's a very interesting place. It's not necessarily at all my favorite place in Portugal, but it is interesting for a visit, and I took Silas there, and he was amazed at all the symbolism there. But there's a very let's say organic beauty to the place as well. In relation to our talk here, well, it was a pleasure, Mystic, and as in a sort of farewell statement, thank you for the time and for this opportunity as well, and we can do this some other time as well, so we don't need to do it all today. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Nice.
I echo what Armunn stated, and it was a absolutely fascinating discussion, and Yeah, we brought up a lot of very good points, I think, yeah, and explored a lot of fascinating topics.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry I was late, guys. I had a good time. I think we definitely should do another one soon because I would love to talk with y'all more about all of these topics. But great seeing you as well, PK. It's nice to see you back from your hiatus. And thank you for having us, Ronin and Armunn, Silas. Always great to be with you guys.
Yeah, likewise.
Likewise, bro.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thank you, Ronan, for hosting, and you guys have a great night.
Nice meeting you, man.
You as well.
Yeah, Armin crushed. I'm glad you came on here, and yeah, we'll absolutely talk again. So much value, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you for
yeah,
having me.
I
Yeah,
just
no
want
problem.
I just want to say quickly as well. I've also posted in the comments in the live chat Armunn's the links for Armunn's book, and I also did a audiobook for Armunn as well. So on his work.
Yeah, I was looking at that. Hold on, let me share.
Ooh, can you tell us real quick, like, what it's about? Plug, please.
Yeah, check this out, dude. Oh,
What?
can I play the? Hold on, watch this. This is I'm gonna share what he's talking about. Trying to get some sound. All right, watch this. This is Armin's book right here. The link is in the description and in the chat. Man's Psyche, the Two Worlds. And let's let this play for a second.
Man's Psyche, the Two Worlds by Armunn Rai.
That voice is familiar.
Dude, Chris, wasn't I saying I would hire Silas to do the voice of our book here? I didn't know he did it already.
And Kazumbo, a very wise and bright young man, whom I have the privilege of knowing, convinced me to commit my observations on the human psyche to literary form. Do make note of that I am not an academic, for I have long perceived the inherent limitations of academia, given its promoted roots. Therefore, embarking upon this process ran somewhat counter to my natural inclination as a dialogist, to me towards their publication in text, perhaps for this work to stand as a companion to my many recorded conversations on the subject. And
well, I won't keep playing it just because it's fire all the way through. He even said, I remember
Wait, how long was that? Can you share the link to that? I want to watch that.
It's 3.5 hours long, and it's great. It's straight fire.
Is
What do you
it in
mean?
the?
It's a free book?
Yeah.
yeah, it's free, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, man.
well, so okay, it's free. What is it about? I still didn't get what it's about
It's
from
about
that.
it's about man's psyche, and of course the rest of the title is the two worlds because I go into the difference between the perceived world and, let's say, quote unquote, the organic world. So that's basically what it's about. It's in a way psychology, but also beyond psychology, in my opinion. Yeah.
Very cool. I always love when people use that word. I love to point out that psyche came from suke, which means like soul. Whenever you see suke in the Bible, it translates straight to soul. And when I go back to my 1737 encyclopedia and you look up psychologist, the definition is one who treats the soul. So
Yeah,
it's just
that's
very
why
interesting. Cool.
Are you
So cool to
familiar?
see the words go where they go.
and that's why all the occultists
yeah.
became psychologists because they
PK.
wanted to steer our souls.
PK, are you familiar with the Sakai? Do you think there's any relation wordology wise?
Sakai, I'm not.
The
What's
Sakai,
that?
well, okay, so just just how it came about word wise is the Scythians. Scythians, the word actually translates to Sakai. It's like SAKAE or whatever. And that eventually they turned into the Saxons. So this is, you could follow, this is not like super hidden info, like you could track this. So I was just wondering, etymology wise, because a lot of those names of those peoples and various peoples are based on like a one with spirit or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It's always
Yeah.
kind of
Yes,
like,
I could totally see that people could take the name, but I would put forward like my first like gut would be that the word suke or whatever meaning soul came first, and that people then called themselves that after the fact. But I don't think that would be weird at all for people to call themselves a I don't know, homophone, or like something that sounded like the word like for like soul, or psyche, like, because literally that is like psyche is like who you are, and so soul is like who you are, and then it's just so weird that people use that word soul in such a disconnected way now, and that psyche has such a uh psycho what am I saying, a sciency like sound to it now, connotation. It doesn't mean what it used to mean. But yeah, I could totally see that right now.
yeah, and you're right. There are a lot of like saws out there, different like saws in relation to the sun and soul and get receiving, and yeah, there's a whole bunch of C's and saws and Sues, but they all kind of seem loosely related to kind of an idea of that in a way. So they're all probably cousins, of course, across the realm at some point. But yeah. All right. The problem here with being with so many legends, we could keep on going and get hit and crush the whole time, but we gotta put a bow on it, and we'll come back. All of Armunn's links. Armunn, I hope you had a good time.
Great time, yeah. Thank you.
You blessed us, bro. Thank you. So much gratitude, man. Open invitation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was great. It was a great experience in the Ronin experience.
Nice. All right, let's get out of here. Chris, I'll let Chris have the last word. He knows when I talk, I need to stop talking.
I would say
myself in more trouble. I'm over.
I would say we are grateful for everyone who showed up in the chat, and thank you guys for all showing up to chat with us here on the Ronin experience. It was a good time. Appreciate you, Ronin. Thank you, brother.
We're out of here. Thank you. Yes, Sakai Scythians to Saxons. Yes. Peace, y'all. Massive love. Bye.